We live in an era where the smartphone in our pocket possesses more computing power than the computers that sent man to the moon. In a world where digital tools have become an extension of our hands and minds, creativity takes on new dimensions. Every day, millions of young people touch screens, creating things that once required years of training and expensive equipment. But do technologies truly unlock our creative potential? Or is it an illusion, masking superficiality as creativity? Modern man processes a volume of information daily comparable to what his medieval ancestor received in an entire lifetime. In this data stream, it's easy to lose oneself, transforming from a creator into a passive consumer. The balance between digital tools and genuine self-expression becomes a key challenge for a generation that has never known a world without the internet. Technologies can both amplify our creative voice and drown it out in the noise of information overload. The history of creative tools spans thousands of years, from cave paintings created by primitive artists using charcoal and natural pigments, to modern neural networks capable of generating images from text descriptions. Humanity's path to self-expression has constantly transformed. The pencil, which appeared in the 16th century, revolutionized drawing, making it more accessible. The camera in the 19th century changed our perception of reality, and the typewriter democratized the process of creating texts. But the digital age rewrote all the rules. The first graphic editors of the 1980s, with their primitive pixelated interfaces, have evolved into powerful programs for professional design. Musical synthesizers have evolved into virtual studios that fit on a smartphone screen. We are witnessing not just a change of tools, but a fundamental shift in the very approach to creativity. Digital platforms have removed the entry barrier. Now there is no need to spend years mastering watercolor technique or learning to play an instrument. Algorithms suggest harmonies, filters correct photos, and generative models create design options based on descriptions. Artificial intelligence has become not just a tool, but a co-author, capable of analyzing millions of works and offering unique solutions. But does this mean that machines will replace human creativity? Or will they become an amplifier of our creativity, allowing us to focus on ideas, not technique? Contemporary visual art is experiencing an unprecedented flourishing thanks to digital tools. Graphics tablets, drawing and design programs have transformed the computer screen into an endless canvas with possibilities that artists of the past could only dream of. Platforms like Procreate allow for the creation of multi-layered illustrations with effects that mimic any material, from watercolor to oil paints. Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator have become the industry standard in visual art, while more accessible alternatives like Krita and GIMP have opened the doors to the world of digital creativity for aspiring artists. Young people are mastering these tools with astonishing speed, transferring traditional techniques into the digital space and creating entirely new visual languages. 15-year-old Sofia from Novosibirsk started with simple sketches on a tablet, and 2 years later, her digital works are already being exhibited in virtual galleries and bringing in her first income. Traditional art schools are gradually integrating digital tools into their curricula, recognizing them not as a replacement, but as an expansion of the creative arsenal. It is especially important that digital platforms allow for experimentation without fear of error. The undo function provides freedom for bold creative decisions. Three-dimensional modeling in programs like Blender opens a new dimension for sculptors and architects, allowing them to create objects impossible in the physical world. Virtual and augmented reality are becoming new canvases for artists, blurring the lines between the viewer and the artwork. Just 30 years ago, Creating music required expensive studios, professional instruments, and years of training. Today, a virtual studio fits into a laptop, and musical possibilities are limited only by imagination. Digital audio workstations, such as Ableton Live, FL Studio, and GarageBand, have transformed teenagers' bedrooms into full-fledged music laboratories. 17-year-old Alexei from Yekaterinburg began experimenting with beats on a tablet, and 2 years later released an album that garnered millions of streams on streaming platforms. His story is not an exception, but the new normal. Music programming blurs the lines between performer, composer, and sound engineer, allowing one person to control the entire creative process. Virtual instruments emulate the sound of a symphony orchestra, a rare ethnic flute, or a vintage synthesizer, all accessible with a few clicks. MIDI technology allows for recording and editing musical ideas even without traditional instrument playing skills, making musical creativity accessible to people with disabilities. Automatic harmonization algorithms and rhythmic generators help novices overcome technical barriers and focus on the emotional component of music. At the same time, the most successful digital musicians are not limited by templates, but use technology as a springboard for creating a unique sound. Mobile applications like BandLab make musical creativity truly democratic. Now a studio is always in your pocket, ready to capture sudden inspiration. This technological revolution has spawned new genres unimaginable in the analog era, from glitch hop to hyperpop. The digital revolution has changed not only the tools, but also the very ways of telling stories. Interactive platforms like Twine allow for the creation of non-linear narratives, where the reader becomes a co-author, making decisions for the characters. 17-year-old Maria from Kazan used this technology to create an interactive novel about her city, which became part of a school history project and attracted the attention of local museums. Podcasting has opened a new era of audio storytelling. With minimal technical requirements, young authors create sound worlds, reviving the traditions of radio plays in a modern format. Platforms for short videos have turned storytelling into an art of concentration. Telling a story in 30 seconds has become a new creative challenge. At the same time, digital narratives are becoming increasingly multimodal, combining text, sound, video, and interactivity. Services like Storybird help young authors create illustrated stories, and mobile shooting and editing applications turn a smartphone into a full-fledged film studio. It is important that these tools do not just simplify the technical side, they transform the very understanding of narrative structure. Hypertext links, timelines, branching plots. Digital stories go beyond linearity, reflecting the multidimensionality of modern perception of the world. At the same time, research shows that the active creation of digital narratives develops critical thinking and empathy in young people, allowing them to try on different perspectives and master new forms of self-expression. In the digital age, creativity is no longer a solitary journey. Online communities of artists, musicians, and writers form a new ecosystem where ideas spread at the speed of a click. Platforms like Behance, SoundCloud, and Medium have become virtual workshops where young talents receive instant feedback from like-minded individuals worldwide. 22-year-old Anna from Samara shares, "When I post my work in a designer's community, I get dozens of comments with constructive criticism. In a month, I learn more than in a year of independent attempts." Psychologists call this phenomenon of collective creativity distributed cognition, when a group of people can solve problems that are insurmountable for a single individual. Digital collaborations erase geographical boundaries. A Russian composer can work with a Japanese animator and an American screenwriter, creating projects that would be impossible to implement alone. Collaborative editing platforms allow several authors to work simultaneously on a single piece, turning creativity into a living dialogue. Studies show that regular participation in creative communities significantly increases motivation and resilience to criticism, qualities necessary for the long-term development of creativity. Social reinforcement in the form of likes, reposts, and comments creates additional incentives for creative growth, although it carries the risk of dependence on external approval. Game mechanics have long ceased to be mere entertainment. They have transformed into a powerful tool for learning and developing creative thinking. The principle is simple. People learn best when they are engrossed in the process. Minecraft, originally created as a building game, has become a true creative laboratory for millions of young people. 14-year-old Dmitry from Tomsk, using this platform, designed a model of a smart city of the future, which was recognized at a regional architectural projects competition. His story demonstrates how gamification blurs the line between play and serious learning. Educational platforms like Kahoot and quizzes turn knowledge assessment into an exciting competition, while apps like Duolingo make language learning similar to progressing through levels in a game. Research shows that integrating game elements into the educational process increases student engagement by 70% and improves material retention. Open-world games and construction elements are particularly effective. They develop divergent thinking, the ability to find multiple solutions to a single problem. The Roblox platform allows young users not only to play, but also to create their own game worlds, thereby mastering the basics of programming and design. Simulators like Kerbal Space Program teach complex physical concepts in a playful way, forcing players to experiment and learn from mistakes without the fear of real consequences. The key advantage of gamification is instantaneous feedback and a system of progressively challenging tasks that keeps the learner in a state of flow. An optimal balance between task difficulty and existing skills. In a world of endless notifications and flashing screens, our attention has become the most valuable currency of the digital age. Every day, the average smartphone user checks their device around 150 times. That's almost 10 checks per waking hour. We live in an era where technology is intentionally designed to capture our attention, turning it into a commodity sold to advertisers. For a creative individual, this situation poses a paradoxical problem. The very tools that expand the possibilities for self-expression systematically undermine the ability to concentrate deeply. Neuroscientists are sounding the alarm. Constant task switching reduces the density of gray matter in brain regions responsible for self-control and decision-making. The phenomenon known as digital amnesia manifests as us increasingly offloading the function of remembering onto devices, weakening our own memory. This is especially dangerous for creativity, as new ideas are born at the intersection of accumulated knowledge and experience. Yet, there are also encouraging studies. Properly configured digital tools can enhance rather than destroy attention. Apps like Forest or Freedom help create periods of deep work protected from distractions. Techniques like digital detox and information fasting are becoming new practices of mental hygiene for creative professionals. The main challenge of our time is not to abandon technology, but to use it consciously. Modern classrooms less and less resemble the lecture halls of the last century. Interactive whiteboards have replaced chalkboards, tablets have replaced notebooks, and virtual laboratories complement physical experiments. But the real revolution is happening not in equipment, but in methodology. Advanced schools are integrating digital creative tools not as a separate subject, but as an interdisciplinary element of education. Marina Sergeyevna, a literature teacher from Kazan, uses the Tinkercad platform so that students can create three-dimensional models of scenes from the works being studied. When teenagers visualize the space of a novel, they delve deeper into the text, she explains. In biology lessons in Kaliningrad schools, students create animated models of cellular processes, turning complex material into vivid stories. Mathematics comes alive when formulas cease to be an abstraction and become a tool for creating generative art. Research shows that this approach increases not only engagement, but also academic results. When creativity penetrates traditional disciplines, holistic thinking is formed, capable of seeing connections between disparate areas of knowledge. The key principle of successful integration is a balance between structured learning and free experimentation. Technology should expand the teacher's capabilities, not replace them. Teachers who have mastered digital tools become not just sources of information, but guides to the world of creative application of knowledge. Artificial intelligence has burst into the creative world, causing both admiration and alarm. Neural networks generate paintings in the style of Van Gogh, write music indistinguishable from human compositions, and create texts that make one ponder the nature of authorship. We find ourselves at a crossroads. AI can become both an enhancer of our creative potential and its substitute. 20-year-old Irina from Novosibirsk uses generative models as a starting point for her illustrations. AI suggests unexpected compositions that I would never have thought of myself. But the final work always reflects my vision and technique. This approach demonstrates an optimal model of collaboration. Humans set the direction and meaning, while technology expands the possibilities of execution. However, many creative professionals are concerned about ethical aspects. Neural networks are trained on millions of works created by artists and writers, often without their consent. The boundaries between inspiration, borrowing, and plagiarism are blurring in the digital space. Critics also note another danger. When a tool becomes too accessible, there is a temptation to settle for mediocre results instead of developing one's own mastery. The key to productive coexistence with artificial intelligence is to use it as a co-creator, not a replacement. Technology should amplify the unique human experience, emotional depth, and social context that are inaccessible to algorithms. Educational programs are already beginning to include the ethics of AI use in creativity, teaching the younger generation a critical approach to these tools. In a world of constant notifications and endless digital stimulation, we risk transforming from creators into passive content consumers. Digital creative hygiene is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. Just as we care for our physical health, we need to build a conscious relationship with technology. The first principle of digital well-being is setting boundaries. Carve out protected time blocks in your schedule for deep work, when all notifications are off. Apps like Freedom or Focus allow you to block distracting websites for a set period. 23-year-old designer Mikhail shares, "I created a ritual. Before a creative session, I turn on airplane mode and set a timer for 90 minutes. These 90 minutes without digital noise have become the most productive part of my day." The second principle is conscious consumption. An information diet is just as important as a food diet. Instead of aimlessly scrolling through feeds, choose content that truly inspires and enriches you. Curating your own information space is the new role of a creative person in the digital age. The third principle is regular digital detox. Weekends without gadgets or evenings without screens help the brain restore its ability to concentrate and generate ideas. Studies show that even a 12-hour break from digital devices significantly improves sleep quality and cognitive functions. For young people, it is especially important to learn to recognize the signs of technological overstimulation. Anxiety when not having access to a device, an obsessive desire to check notifications, decreased productivity. Parents and educators can help by modeling healthy relationships with technology and creating spaces for offline creativity. Standing on the cusp of technological singularity, we ask ourselves, what will tomorrow's creativity look like? The digital and human components of creativity do not oppose but complement each other, creating a new reality where the boundaries of the possible are constantly expanding. Future technologies are already penetrating our lives. Neurointerfaces allow us to visualize images directly from the brain, and augmented reality blurs the line between physical and virtual creativity. 16-year-old Andre from Perm, using mixed reality glasses, creates sculptures that exist simultaneously in digital and physical spaces. His works can not only be seen but also felt, thanks to haptic feedback. Such examples show that the future of creativity lies in the synthesis of technology and human intuition. The key principle of this synthesis is mindfulness. Technologies should amplify our unique human qualities: empathy, the ability for metaphorical thinking, and cultural context. These elements distinguish genuine creativity from the mechanical production of content. Cultivating digital mindfulness becomes the most important task of education. Young people must not only master tools, but also understand their impact on thinking and the creative process. In a world where technology is developing exponentially, it is important to remember they are created to serve human self-expression, not to replace it. Our creative future is not a confrontation between man and machine, but their harmonious dialogue, where technologies become an extension of our mind and heart.